So don't adjust your screens. You're looking at a fantasy league. These are the rosters, and it is only August, so much could happen and change. And really, you need to check out the previous video. And assume you're going to put a link in down below, whatever flashy thing we can do. But today, what we're doing, the drafts are set. You can see the value in which people paid for them. You can see the teams constructed in front of you. And we're going to kind of dissect it, unpack it a little bit, say what we think that team is intending to do in terms of the winning categories, how they're slated, some of the variables for certain teams. That'll become more clear. So for context, we've got like basically in all categories league. So every week we're going to go up against a different team, and we're trying to win points, assists, rebounds, steals, blocks, etc. And certain teams seem geared towards one thing, and then other teams maybe geared towards another. So I think what we want to do first is unpack our own teams. So you'll see in bold currently Team Fat is Fauzi's team, and Fauzi, I guess, talk us through. You didn't spend a lot of money, excluding Luca. You kept it pretty cheap.
Yeah, I don't know. I had an interesting draft, right? But I got the man I wanted. I don't know, you guys all figured no doubt that Luca was the guy I wanted. Yeah, as my first pick, and at $65, I was like, that's not too bad. The production he puts out and the fact that someone paid $101 for Jokic, I guess, it's probably. I think Luca and Jokic are really head to head, like neck to neck, with fantasy production. I think the only thing really Jokic has above Luka is probably like percentages and just, bit better shooting splits in that sort of sense. But for the sort of price difference, I can't complain there. I guess the other things though, I was looking at my team and when I finished the draft, I was like, why did I draft Franz Wagner? I don't even want the kid. Anyone want him? Like, but I think we were talking it up when that pick came along, and for $18, he's probably not bad value. But I was like, he's too good to drop. But he's probably a kid that I don't actually really want on my roster. But if someone gives me some reasonable trade package right now, I'm happy to shift him immediately. I guess the other thing on my side here that I took a few risks actually, which I guess we'll find out whether they pay off or not. I guess starting with Lillard. His situation is clearly one that's, unknown right now. Who knows whether he's going to play or not. Zion, obviously, his level of risk there at $11, I guess it's probably worth the risk in a sense. But, he's definitely a game changer in the things that he, produces on, what points, rebounds, percentages, field goal percentages, and those little things like that. Definitely pushes you over the top, I think, in a big sense because it's high volume as well. But whether he'll play or not, whether he plays 10 games or plays 50 or 60, that's another story. And then obviously players like AD as well. I spent a bit of money on AD there. I don't know. He's a top 10 fantasy contributor when he plays, but when will he play? How many games will he play? So that was another question mark there too. So yeah, look, I definitely didn't have to go and reach too high. A lot of sort of mid-level sort of spending there. But I'm happy with my roster. I think you probably noticed, I got a lot of players that can do a bit of everything. Giddy, it's probably like a bit of Luca Light. Sabonis does a little bit of everything too. His passing's a big part of his game nowadays too. So in any given night, he'll give you that 7 to 8 assists too. And yeah, I think balance that out with some 3-point shooters and some guys that will block shots with Gobert and Walker Kessler. I don't know. I'm feeling okay. I don't know. How'd you break down your team, man?
Well, I guess another highlight, you talked about the two injury flight risk people or the trade pieces that may or may not occur, but a player like Desmond Bain at $9, knowing that John Morant's out for 25 games, those are little subtle things that really help your team. Look, I look at my team. The more I look at it a little bit, there's certain things that I definitely reacted based off like the value hunting or the prospect. But I had the same philosophy. Points come from everyone, right? Especially in a 6 team draft, you're going to be able to get 20 plus point scorers pretty easy. And what else can you get? How do you get your assists, rebounds, blocks, steals, etc.? How do you get those energy guys? And everyone has players that are 1, 2, or 3 in terms of the hierarchy on their team. And what I did specifically is I hunted out, I think, some blocks. I know that it's a bit comical for some people, but I feel like Wembanyama and Chet really will average at least 2 to 3 blocks pretty safely. And then adding in Nick Claxton to that as well, that is a category that I can guarantee I'm going to get a couple of steady blocks per week, along with the fact that every player will get a block or two every so often. Obviously, Devin Booker and Jason Tatum, going to have 30 plus points. But then one of the other things that really went through my mind was more about role. You look at, say, Tyrese Halliburton coming off an all-star season, but only playing 40 games. Hopefully his role increases and he's going to continue to have the ball in his hands. Westbrook really should have the ball in his hands. The fact that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard won't play a lot of games. Paolo coming off his, rookie season, being ready to contribute at a higher level. Tyrese Maxey potentially benefiting from a lack of James Harden, despite the fact that I have James Harden. DeAndre Ayton hopefully having easier offensive life, considering that there's now a third shooter on there. And then Jalen Brunson obviously proved, both currently in the FIBA World Cup, but also last year with the Knicks, that he can go there. I look at my team. There's two players in hindsight, now that the dust has settled, that I would potentially package or look to move on from. And that's James Harden and Keegan Murray. I picked up Keegan Murray because I know that he's going to hit the threes at a good clip, but I don't know if he alone is going to help up the statistics here, because I look at all of my players, Tatum, Booker, Harden, Westbrook. I know they're going to take threes, or even Brunson. I know they're going to take threes, but they're not going to shoot a good clip. And Keegan Murray hitting 3 or 4 every so often is probably not going to help me as much as I want. Obviously, not a lot of investment in that with just the $7, but could I get him, or could I get another player that's going to have a bigger role elsewhere?
I think, yeah, look, your team's okay. I'll give you okay. I personally would not build a team around Tatum. And clearly he was who you spent the most on. So you could say this is the team you're building around Tatum. And I say that because I don't think he's a 3-component player. We're talking points, assists, and rebounds. And that's the sort of the almost like a standardized benchmark of a superstar in today's league nowadays. I think Tatum gives you points. I think he gives you rebounds, and then he sometimes gives you assists. Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? And that's why I probably wouldn't build around him in that sense. That's where Jokic, I think, and Luka are head and shoulders above everyone else. Giannis, you could make the argument that he'll probably give you things like blocks and steals in an elite level. Pat's not the assists, obviously, and percentages generally in a sort of 50 to 60 sort of percent, from the field in a sense. Whereas Tatum is, look, he had a great year, don't get me wrong, and could build on that, but I don't think he's that sort of player. I think you're talking about the two players that you're sort of, happy to put on the trade block right now. Harden, look, I don't know. Harden's a hard one, man. You're going to get the assist right. Probably get maybe high teens in points like he did last year. Where's he going to be? How will that change his situation? It's like the Dame Lillard situation. You really don't know what his scenery will sort of dictate the sort of stats and the fantasy stats that we're going to be put out this year. But Keegan Murray, I don't know. I think looking at your draft there, the fact you spent $7 on him, just drop the dude, man. I don't know. Like, look, I just put up his stats, man. 12 points, 4 rebounds, 1.2 assists, shot reasonably from the field, I guess, 45%, 40% from the three. That was a big, I guess, calling card for him in his rookie year. How much will he build on that? That's sort of your gamble right now, right? How much will Keegan Murray build on his rookie year? Is it reasonable to think he's going to now bump those stats up to 15, 16 points? And even if he did do that, okay, does it justify keeping him in a 6-team league? That's your catch, right? And that's what you need to sort of figure out. That's where Franz Wagner's a difficult one. I'm sort of like, he's too good to drop. You feel like he could average 20 points a game next year. He's already at 18 points now. All right. But look, I don't think Keegan Murray's going to make that leap yet. And I don't think he needs to make that leap with the Kings in that sort of sense either. So look, I don't know. I guess, I definitely something for you to think about there, man, as a fantasy manager.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm already on the waiver wire right now, just having a look at what's available and what it could do for me. Because yeah, look, I totally agree with you. I think, you're kind of reacting a little bit to what other people are doing. And you might lose sight of what you're trying to do. And, the hard part is that if Keegan Murray has an up year, now I have a trade asset, to get something else. But it is a 16 league, as you referenced. Do you want to maybe have a look at, say, Stinger to begin with, and just unpack what we think that team's maybe strengths, weaknesses are? He was just down next to us.
Well, you know what? I don't know who the Stingers owner is here or manager is here. But clearly they're a noob because they haven't gone and dropped Lewis King yet. So if he ever tunes into this recording and this podcast, your first step here was once the draft was finished, you drop Lewis King and you go pick up the best free agent out there on the pile, right? Especially like we referenced numerous times on a 6-team league. So yeah, look, I don't know. He's got Jokic. You're overpaid for Jokic, obviously. Steph Curry's gonna do what Steph Curry does. LeBron's aging, and look, I think his team's a bit thin.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm casting my eyes over it a little bit. Jokic, Curry probably going to be leading their teams respectively. LeBron, we keep saying he's old, but he keeps proving us wrong. So let's just assume that he's going to have another good season. Jordan Poole going to get touches, but probably going to hurt you in a couple of categories now with the shooting splits or maybe turnovers with a higher ball usage. Scotty Barnes, you're hoping for that resurge after a sophomore slump. Brandon Ingram to play, similar to your Zion pre-commit just there. Draymond, Drew, and DeJounte Murray, not terrible pickups at that stage in the draft. Excluding Draymond, the other two are going to give you double-digit points and a couple of the auxiliary stats here and there. Marcus Smart probably not going to do what you want to unless his role is a lot bigger than we expect in Memphis. But yeah, look, it'll be a team that scores points, and a lot of the other categories will probably be lacking for a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see what he does throughout the season to help out.
You want to jump and look at some of these other teams too, I guess, hey? What,
Definitely. Yeah, let's scroll up. Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
under
I didn't
six
read
foot.
into that.
What we got under 6 foot? Someone
A
fell
lot of
for my.
over, a lot of guys over 6 foot. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
So
Does.
someone fell for my ball first round pick. Someone's going to pay $7 for him. Will he even play 10 minutes a night for the Suns? And what sort of production should you expect Bol to put out with a team of 3 all-stars around him? Clearly not the same sort of stats like he would have with the rebuilding Magic and the sort of focal point that he was for a short period of time when he was hot, I guess, hot news last season. So again, Bol feels like a candidate that right now, and I feel like we're giving tips now to our opposition, but you just put him on the, you just
We
cut
gotta
him,
watch.
you
They
cut,
gotta watch.
yeah, you cut him loose right now and you pick up the best free agent that fills the center spot there. And there's clearly talented production right now still in the free agency pile over Bol. So you cut your $7 loss there. Look, this team obviously built around Donovan Mitchell. I feel that's probably even worse than building around Tatum in the same sort of vein. And I guess, look, Mitchell, Trae Young, they're going to give you stats. He probably had a steal there with Cat at $23. If Cat bounces back and has a real productive year. It wasn't that long ago when he was sort of like a 5-category player, right? He could do a bit of everything along with steals and blocks and the core categories there too. Siakam's probably a big steal at $11 too. Again, his situation's probably in flux a little bit. How long will it be in Toronto? Will he be a focal point? He's obviously on the trade block. If he performs well, he could be moving at the trade deadline potentially to a contender if they want a player like that. And Ja Morant, I guess, coming back after 25 games, who knows what you're going to sort of get from him in that sense. But, $20, that's probably a worthwhile flyer there in the sense. But then, then he's rounded up with obviously PG and Kawhi Leonard. So again, I don't know, man. At some point, feel like they're going to hit the free agency pile too because, they just, did not play injured out, right?
Yeah. So look, I don't want to repeat too much, but yeah, you're right. Look, Bol has the potential to be really important for the Phoenix Suns, but not important for a fantasy player. Trae Young, you hope with Quinn Snyder has a better season, clearly can put up close to 30 and 10. So not a terrible pick. Donovan maybe has a chip on his shoulder post the playoff exit. Maybe he doesn't, but you might get that big 71-point game again from him. And, you can kind of bank in that week. Duncan Robinson probably needs to be dropped. I think he might have just got hot again at the right time for $3. I think you can find someone better. Cat only played like 28 games last season. Really deceptive. That calf injury kept him out for months. And, a lot of people had concerns that perhaps something happened to his Achilles. So we'll see. Jaren Jackson going to have more points on the board, already gets pretty good rebounds and gets good blocks. His biggest issue is staying out of foul trouble. Not sure if you saw this, Porzingis, some injury concerns to play in the FIBA World Cup, and that's always been my concern with him, and that will probably carry into the season. DeMar DeRozan, the Bulls situation's fascinating. Are they ever going to trade one of those two? Are they going to blow it up? Are they going to keep it going? Who knows? Siakam, I think for $11 is a huge steal. He's got borderline all-star potential a lot of the time. Mobley, is now entering his third season, and now we're kind of expecting, is he going to put it together? Because right now he is very similar to what Jared Allen does, with a couple more blocks, but is he going to have a bigger offensive role? But I think the reason why this team's really fascinating for anyone who follows the series throughout the season, those three players at the bottom of the list, if hypothetically they get to 60 games each, that roster's so different. That roster is looked at in a different lens, and that's probably the gamble that they're taking. And for $20 a pop, there's some steals. When you look at some of the prices we paid for other players to get those caliber players, if they can perform at their best, that's a threat. But we know Jar's not playing for 25, and the other two we kind of can bank in 20, but just when are those 20, and then does it get worse? I guess we move on to the Joel Embiid and Giannis team. I looked at this team before, I skimmed it, and then I looked at it again. Having Embiid, SGA, and Giannis, who are probably legitimately able to finish in the top 5 of MVP voting, quite a well put together team. And you round it out with LaMelo, Butler, Garland, Van Fleet, and Randall, who have prominent roles in their existing teams, right, and are going to give you some stats anyway. But being carried by Joel Embiid and Giannis, assuming Giannis is okay, obviously pulled out of the FIBA World Cup, is he just taking rest or is he legitimately injured? This team has something going on. And then you look at the $1 purchases at the end, clearly based off being one of the last teams to draft. Randall will give you 20 plus points. Beal will probably give you 18 to 22 on hopefully better shooting, with the fact that he's not going to be in the main role. Jakob Poeltl, one of our double-double machines. Cam Johnson, pretty good three-point shooter, probably similar to the Keegan Murray pick, maybe a little bit better. And then Jeremy Grant, depending on what shapes out in Portland, again, probably also going to be, another 15, 20-point scorer. So I think this roster rounded out really nicely. I think they got, when you get 2 top 5 players, and you can make a case and say 2 top 3 players, you've clearly done a good job.
I think this, commitment issues play our biggest competition, yeah. between me and you, feeling pretty good about our drafts. I think commitment issues should be fairly pleased with what they've picked up. You're absolutely right. Embiid, Giannis, and SGA, they anchor his team. And even if one goes down or misses games, you still got a solid sort of 2 to step up in that sense. I think the catcher, though, is that again, it's sort of that Tatum sort of vein, isn't it? That they're not necessarily 3-dimensional players in that sense. There's probably a lack of assist there. Sure, maybe SGA. And SGA is not necessarily a point guard in OKC by default anyway. But that you'll get your points, you'll get your rebounds on any given week. I think this team is gonna threaten in that sort of category. But where are you gonna find your blocks here? Where are the threes in this team? I don't think this lineup has those shooters. Has those shot blockers, and those categories are up for grabs obviously every single week. So look, it's a good team, don't get me wrong, but I think some bargains there, like you touched upon. Van Fleet, $15, I think he's going to have a huge season in Houston, being the all-star there, surrounded by young talent. And Bradley Beal for $1, obviously Julius Randle, like you said, for $1. Can't go wrong, right? So I don't know, it'd be interesting as a sort of plan plays out, I guess, for them.
So we move on to Brick City, who I think really wanted Tatum. As if you watch the video, you can kind of sense they didn't spend a lot, and then Tatum was the one that I drove the price up. And I'll admit that I've picked up Tatum, and I'm aware that I'm getting a 30-point, probably 5-and-5 sort of guy on some decent shooting. But I didn't want him. It really wasn't the draft strategy I was going for. But I think I was conscious of the fact that Brick City was sitting there being able to round out their roster really quick. And, obviously we're still able to get Jaylen Brown, who, is going to also have around 30 points a game. Kevin Durant going to put up really good shooting numbers. It's just the games played that makes you a bit reserved. Bam's a name. But Bam can go missing in certain games. Sometimes he has like 20 and 18 and he looks fantastic. Other times kind of wondering like, hey, did you play today? Or, were we in foul trouble or you a bit hurt? Zach LaVine, I'm jumping on this bandwagon too early, but the Bulls guards have knee issues, and Zach LaVine is no different. He had an ACL repair many years ago, and he's really been phenomenal since that. And you would never know, but he does have those sit outs from time to time. There's cleanups on the knee, and that would make me a bit weary. De'Aaron Fox, obviously coming off King of the Fourth season, and leading Sacramento to the thing. Their team's staying the same, and that's probably a big plus for him is that his role is going to be the same. He's going to have the same people around him assisting him to be his best self. Cade Cunningham there at $24. That's a surprising one. It's very in vain with the injury return list because Cade has really struggled to stay on the court in these last 2 seasons. And that may not change for Detroit based on the fact that they're not touted to be a top 8, 10 team. And whether they're doing it for draft capital, who knows? Lauri Markkanen had his big breakout season. Now it's a can he maintain? Which surely after a season, every team's going to look at him a little bit differently in the scouting report moving forward. Mikal Bridges, again, that's a potential pick where he had really big flashes once he moved to Brooklyn, but can that sustain again over an 82-game season? He will at least play for you. That's pretty safe. Kyrie at 22, it's a danger pick, right? Like we saw that combo with him and Luka, and they put up stats, but there was no winning. And Kyrie also has at least a 10-game stint every season where he just wants to go to a birthday party or hate a specific group of people, and that's always a big risk. And then Bobby Portis, I don't know. That's your double center. I feel like we all got a double center at some point in these drafts. Miles Turner, if he gets traded, maybe. If he doesn't get traded, should still be solid. He shoots some threes. That's a nice plus from a center position and gets blocks. Austin Reeves, this was a bait into purchasing. I didn't want Austin Reeves when I picked him, but I just thought someone else might know the name and go for him. He might have an up season if LeBron takes a step back and they need a bigger role, but their stats just don't jump out. And then RJ Barrett, I mean, you're banking on an up season for him, right? And the reality is that going up against Jar and Zion in the fantasy draft, you could make a case and say RJ Barrett probably is the best value pick because he's going to play for you and he's at least solid across the board.
Is Brick City the team that just didn't make a pick for 10 rounds? That's what it looks like, right? Their first pick was at 11, and then they didn't pick again till 30. Yeah, looking at what's in front of us right now. So literally in the first 30 picks, he made 2 picks there, while everyone else sort of grabbed all the players that sort of were on the board at that sense. I think the only way Brick City is going to contend here is that if 2 or 3 of these players have career years. Yeah, and that's like Lauri Markkanen. Yeah, if last year you grab Lauri Markkanen at $27 and then you put out the numbers that he did, then you sort of like, yeah, all right, great value, and that was exceeded what you sort of expected from him. That said, no one's probably expecting him to put up greater numbers in a sense than he did last year. Everyone would like to see him put up similar numbers, I guess, in that sense. And I guess, again, across this board here, it's like, De'Aaron Fox, what sort of leap can he take? Touch about Cade Cunningham, can he come back healthy and sort of build upon the rookie year that, he had showed flashes of talent, I guess, in that sense. Kyrie, I think is good value at $22, but I felt there was a little bit of a risk there when he was on the board, like, how will his season play out? You could make an argument right now that Dallas are going to fall apart potentially with this, Kyrie, Luka pairing, and by the trade deadline, Kyrie's on the block again, right? That because clearly they're not putting Luka on the block. That would be crazy. Okay, so Kyrie has to be the one that gets put on the block again, and then I don't know, the chatter goes then, should he go to the Lakers or something along those lines again? So, look, I don't know. Brick City's got some nice names there. If they can sort of exceed expectations this year, maybe he'll jump up the standings a little bit, make some competition. Yeah, I don't know. Look, it's always interesting a year in fantasy league, but I pulled up something interesting. I guess maybe I don't know whether you sort of thought that this much about this when you were drafting as part of your strategy, but I pulled up the top 10 players for triple doubles last year. Yeah, for triple doubles last year. All right, and I'm just having a look at you. You got James Harden. Yeah. You got Westbrook. Yeah. So you got two of those players on the list there. I think Kyle Anderson is still on the free agency part. No one obviously probably thought of grabbing him, and that's fair enough. He was a bit of a late bloomer last season. But the other names here, obviously Jokic by head and shoulders, obviously. Sabonis, Doncic, Ja Morant, obviously missing 25 games this year. Giannis, Josh Giddey, and LaMelo Ball, which you'd expect on that list too. So I don't know. Like I said, I feel all right with my list, man. I got 3 of those 10 names on my list already, and there's probably not too many question marks about their roles and how they sit within our franchises and expectations for them this year. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to round 1, I guess, against you.
Yeah, look, it's just so far away, right? So, if you're tracking the series, there's a lot to talk about. Just can you hit refresh on your page real quick and scroll down? There might be some breaking news to release on this at this point in time.
Who have you
Uh,
picked up now? Did you drop Keegan Murray? Did you take my suggestion here and
yeah, just have a quick scroll down. Okay, so it
uh,
hasn't went through yet. That's
uh,
unfortunate. But yeah, look, I've talked to some people. It was just via text because you could see me talking in real time. I had a chat and we felt that Keegan Murray wasn't the right direction for what we need.
Kuzma, what a fail, man.
What we've done is we picked up Kuzma. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to open up the stats here. Power forward position is what I needed to fill here. So, there's some limitations there. It was Aaron Gordon, it was Kyle Kuzma. And why I lent towards Kyle Kuzma is the fact that we know without Brad Beal there, this is now the young man's team of him and Jordan Poole. So he's going to get his points, which is clearly at 20. The 7 rebounds, the 3 assists, the 0.6 steals, and the 0.5 blocks. The turnovers are a concern, but I'm hoping that with Jordan Poole there to take a lot of shots or get the turnovers, that it doesn't impact Kuzma as much. And you might be thinking, why not take Aaron Gordon, right? Championship caliber, going to have bigger things. Just fantasy wise, not as good in any category.
Agree.
Averages 16 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He does average 0.8 steals and blocks. And I thought, maybe that's where that would be good. But I think if you're splitting hairs over 0.2, unless the league is hyper competitive and it's literally scraping by every single week, I don't think it's going to be a big game changer. But this is a huge upgrade for me. Excluding maybe 3-point percentage, I've really just improved everything across the board. So
Hey, look,
very excited.
I don't know if I'd gone that direction, but you did make an upgrade. I'll give you that. All right, made an upgrade. We talked about Keegan Murray, his production in his rookie year, and what was reasonable expectations for him in his second year. And Kyle Kuzma obviously probably is going to exceed that production. And like you touched upon, his role in the Wizards now is number one or number two option to a certain extent, isn't it? So I don't know. Good luck, man. Good luck for round one. Let me hit
This is two guys with spare time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist and giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.